your records.
No. Keep it like that.
Okay.
Larry, seriously, I have a question for you. I'm doing media here for 6. So where should I sit myself so I can can't leave?
If you really have to.
Scheduling problem on my part.
Have you talked? I think you need to talk to Jeff. Because he's going to be introducing you if you're not here. It will be awkward. Let me see what I can do.
Hi. Yes. Okay, let's make a date. I just had to get some orientation. Yeah, this time of year is insane, so maybe not next week or the week after.
Cassandra? All right, if you could please take your seats. Bienvenidos, shalom, Allah wa salam, yokoso, jambo, xin chao, welcome. Before we get any further, I would like to acknowledge that we work on indigenous land. We pay our respects to the Patwin, Nisenan, and Miwok tribes and all the other American Indian and other indigenous peoples and communities who have become a part of these lands and territories here in the greater Sacramento region. I would also like to acknowledge family and friends viewing the program in classrooms A, B, C, D, G, and H. Good job getting your loved ones to come. And over our live stream. Please note that while the YouTube is not able to translate the live stream in real time, the live stream's recordings closed captioning will be available in English, Dutch, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Portuguese, Russian, and Spanish. Let me give you an overview of the program. Oh, I forgot to say, I'm Michael Hunter Schwartz. I'm the Dean of your law school. So I will start by making a few remarks and introduce the McGeorge leadership and recruitment teams. Alumni Association Board of Directors member Jerry Latazza will speak on behalf of the McGeorge Alumni Association. Associate Dean Jeff Prosky will introduce my awesome faculty colleagues. And finally, the Honorable Ronald Roby will administer the Oath of Professionalism and conduct the pinning ceremony. I should say for our students and those in other rooms, this is the McGeorge, the oath and pinning ceremony is the McGeorge equivalent of a white coat ceremony. You sort of think of the white coat ceremony in the medical professions. I should also note that we have arranged for the oath to be translated into 19 different languages. The translations are in the booklets that you picked up as you walked into the room tonight. Also, most of you know this, but I want to make sure we all know that we are not just swearing in our JD students, but also our incoming class includes students who are LLM students, JSD, MSL, MPA, and MPP. McGeorge is as rich in diversity of programs as we are in diversity of students. And then I will conclude the event by sharing data regarding you. So I'll tell you a little bit about you. So here are my personal remarks. My goal in delivering these short remarks is to suggest an approach you might take as you participate in this oath ceremony. I'm suggesting this approach because even if you don't realize it yet, you now represent the image of legal professional to a whole bunch of people. For you JD students, you are going to be hit up in the next few weeks by some relative who thinks that you should be rendering legal advice after 2 weeks of law school. Don't. To make my point, I will share 2 quotes and then give you 2 recommendations. The first quote comes from the novel The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. As some of you may know, the novel was eventually made into a movie. In the book, a character responds to a suggestion that he act with professionalism by saying, professionalism, it appears to mean getting one's own way by cheating and manipulating. It appears to mean serving the dictates of greed and advantage rather than those of goodness and the desire to see justice prevail in the world. If that is the professionalism you refer to, sir, I don't care much for it, and I have no wish to acquire it. So you could treat tonight's oath as a mere task. While the character of the book nowhere mentions the legal profession, I fear that he was. If you approach this oath as just another thing to get through, as a matter of checking a box required by your law school, you will add just another little brick to this image of our profession. I do want to clarify that Ishiguro is wrong if he's talking about legal professionals. Everything I've read or seen makes it clear that a much higher percentage of lawyers contribute free services than any other type of profession. Take that in a moment. For all the bad stuff they say about our people, we give more free legal services than anybody does. You can and you should be proud. So here's the second quote. It's a little more obscure. It's from the author Tomislav Sola. He wrote, "Professionalism is like love. It is made up of the constant flow of little bits of proof to testify to devotion and care." So here are my two recommendations for the oath today. Please never aspire to that other image of professionalism articulated by the character in Isiguro's book. Use the oath instead as your first bit of proof of devotion and care. If you make the extra effort to think about the words, reflect on the words, as Justice Roby administers the oath to you, you're offering just that little bit extra bit of proof that you will be the kind of legal professional who represents the possibility our professionalism our oath of professionalism implies. In many ways, your mindset is very analogous to the acts of professionalism McGeorge hopes to inspire in you. Real professionalism is a mindset, and the activities of professionalism really do happen mostly inside our minds. It is now my great joy to introduce to you the luminaries in our room. I'll ask you to stand up as I give your name. First off, S.J. Hammond, President of the Student Bar Association. While you are contemplating her, you should know two things about her. First of all, there's not an employee of the law school who doesn't know who she is, which may say something about S.J. And the second is that, and she gave me permission to say this, after claiming she was definitely going to move to Texas when she graduated, she has accepted a job to work for a prestigious Sacramento law firm when she graduates. I would also invite the members of the SBA board to please stand up and be recognized. I will now introduce the management team of the law school in alphabetical order. This has probably been the way of her entire life. First up, Leah Adams, the Assistant Dean for Student Affairs and Career Services. Cassandra Fernandez, Assistant Dean for the Office of Advancement. Ashley Gollage, Assistant Dean for Marketing and Communications. Larry Levine, he's somewhere back here, Professor and Associate Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. If you applaud him, he'll become more annoying. Leslie Jacobs, Associate Dean for Scholarship, Justice Kennedy Professor of Law, and Executive Director of the Capital Center for Law and Policy. James Worrell, Associate Dean for Library Services and Associate Professor of Law. I will now introduce those who brought you here, our recruitment teams. First, Clemence Kuchera, Assistant Dean for Graduate, Online, and International Programs. Adriana Aguena. And Mary Economy. Somewhere also behind me, Jeff Michael, the Director of Public Policy Programs and Professor of Public Policy. Valerie James, Senior Assistant Dean of Admissions, Financial Aid, and Diversity Initiatives. She is woo-worthy. Anne Marie Meyer. And I didn't see him. Oh, yes, there he is. Joe Pincus, Director of Financial Aid. So the last Associate Dean is Associate Dean Jeff Prosky, who will introduce the faculty to you after we hear from our alumni speaker. So it's my great honor to introduce to you Jerry Latassa, who is what we call at the University of the Pacific a double tiger, meaning that he graduated from the University of the Pacific Stockton campus, from the College of the Pacific in 2010 and from the law school in 2013. He is the current president of the McGeorge Alumni Association Board of Directors. He obtained, I got all that part already. He currently practices workers' compensation defense in Sacramento at a firm founded by two McGeorge alumni. He also serves on our McGeorge Diversity Board and previously was on the board and co-chair of SAC Legal, the Sacramento LGBTQIA+ Bar Association. In law school, Jerry served as president of the Lambda Law Students Association and on the Student Bar Association as a representative at large. As his bio reflects, Jerry is someone who steps up and supports his law school and his university. He is kind and smart and empathic. He is someone that I, as dean, go to for advice and for support. And I feel lucky that my job title means that I get to hang out with Jerry. Please join me in welcoming Jerry LaCasa.
Thank you so much, Dean. I didn't pay him to say that, I promise. On behalf of the Alumni Association of the University of the Pacific, McGeorge School of Law, it is both my pleasure and privilege to welcome you all to our community. And that is what McGeorge is, a community that has a history going back 100 years. You are all embarking on a journey to further your education, whether it be in the MPP, MPA, JSD, MSL, LLM, or the JD programs. The community of faculty, staff, alumni, and your fellow students are all here to help you succeed. As you will go on this new adventure together, you will quickly form study groups and social circles that will evolve into lifelong friendships. I won't sugarcoat it. The next 3 or 4 years are unlike any you have experienced in your academic careers. You'll be pushed to your academic limits and taught to think like a legal professional. What helped me through these years were the people in my section and my class. They will become your support structure. You will not only have these relationships while you walk through these halls, but they will last you a lifetime. I currently have a core group of friends that is composed entirely of the class of 2013 McGeorge graduates. I've been there for their weddings, for the births of their children, for all of life's big moments. Despite job changes, relocations, family and relationship changes, we've also managed to keep a monthly poker group going for 11 years now. When you graduate, you will be joining 15,000 alumni in all 50 states and 68 countries. Talk to us. Ask us about our careers. Ask us about our experiences. Make use of our networks and connections as you search for jobs as well as mentors in your future endeavors. My fellow alumni and I are involved in this school because we want to give back what we received. And that includes making sure you all are successful in your future. You're about to hear from Dean Prosky about the amazing faculty we have here at McGeorge. Many of the professors I had are still here and behind me, Professor Sprankling, Professor DeJani, Professor Levine, Professor Jacobs, and many other fabulous educators. I want to briefly share about one professor I had my first year. Now, if your orientation week is anything like mine, you were very quickly warned about Professor Michael Vitello. I will not lie, his classes are tough, and he expects a lot out of his students. But no other professor provided me with more support outside the classroom to ensure I succeeded, including in preparation for that pesky quiz called the bar exam. That is what the faculty here are like, professors whose first job and first passion is to teach and ensure you all are successful. Justice Roby is about to administer the Oath of Professionalism. I still remember when Judge Morris in England administered mine, 14 years ago now. Probably a lot of you weren't in high school then. It is a powerful moment and set the tone for how I conduct myself currently in the practice of law. Remember this oath as you go off in your various careers, whatever that might be. As you look around the room today, you'll see your future colleagues, future opposing counsels, future judges, future lobbyists, future policymakers, future legislators, future community leaders, and future change makers. These are people you will see again, and it is important that you always maintain a professional demeanor. Your professional reputation starts today. Once again, congratulations and welcome to our community of the McGeorge School of Law. We are all thrilled you are here. Thank you.
So when I was working with one of the groups on the community standards for civil engagement, one of the things that we agreed as a group is that people should acknowledge their mistakes. So, living up to that standard, I will acknowledge a mistake. I would like to acknowledge a member of the recruitment team whose name I left out from the MPA MPP programs, Blah Chang. That won't be my last mistake. I will now turn over the introduction of the faculty to Associate Dean Jeff Prosky.
I'm not going to use the lavalier mic because this works just fine. Hi, everybody. I'm Associate Dean Jeff Prosky. I have the great honor of getting to introduce our fabulous faculty. But before that, I just wanted to make a little observation that it's an honor for me to stand here with you at this moment in time. This is one of my favorite days of our academic year because you are standing on the threshold of revelation today. As Jerry mentioned just a moment ago, when I look across this audience, I see our next judges, I see our next professors, I see our next assembly members, senators, policymakers, business leaders, all leaders. And I'm proud to know that you're part of our family and part of our institution. One thing I tell my students when they come to law school is, you're all individuals. You come with unique talents, unique perspectives, unique aspirations, and you have a unique life journey that brought you here. And that gives you unique perspectives that you need to cherish and hold with you while you're here. Our faculty also have fascinating, unique journeys that have brought them here. You're going to learn all about how brilliant they are over the years ahead. But I want to make sure that you know they bring some fun with them too. So as I introduce them, I'm going to ask them to stand as I tell you what they teach and tell you something fun about them. Okay? Starting from the top. Are you ready? Okay. Professor Wong. Yes, I'm not. This is not alphabetical, so consider it cold calling. Okay, Professor Wong teaches contracts, day section and evening, U.S. and international arbitration, and JSD writing seminar. Interestingly, he won the Baby of the Year in Singapore in one-year-old category. Sadly, life's been downhill since. Sorry, Jared. Rachel Van Cleve. Professor Van Cleve teaches Global Lawyering Skills 1, Criminal Procedure, and Constitutional Law. She speaks Italian fluently.
Si.
Si. Tori Lorette. Professor Lorette will be teaching Global Lawyering Skills 1, Global Lawyering Skills 2, and the Homeless Advocacy Clinic. Interestingly, her wife and her have the same name. They're both Victoria Lorette. Professor Stephanie Thompson. Professor Thompson teaches torts, Global Lawyering Skills 2, remedies, guns and tort liability, And she played soccer and currently is obsessed with playing pickleball. Professor Ederlina Coe. Professor Coe teaches GLS, Global Lawyering Skills, the Prisoner's Civil Rights Mediation Clinic, and Reproductive Rights and Justice. Professor Coe loves panda bears and panda dunks. Professor Melissa Brown. Professor Brown teaches elder law and social policy, elder and health law clinic. Interestingly, she's a keyboard player for an all-woman band, Iola Rose, and she's an enrolled member of the Shawnee tribe. Professor Dan Croxall. Professor Croxall teaches civil procedure, global lawyering skills, and professional responsibility. He didn't mention craft beer law, but he's a craft beer law professional too. Professor Croxall was a pitcher in college at both Cuesta College and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. He would have gone on to pitch in the major leagues until they told him he was too tall. Professor Omar Shahabi. Professor Shahabi is teaching public international law, administrative law, statutes and regulations, law and practice of the United Nations, professional responsibility, and global lawyering skills 1. He skipped the 4th grade, and it was all downhill from there. Professor Mary Beth Moylan. Professor Moylan teaches civil procedure, the California Initiative Seminar, and Global Lawyering Skills 3. And she does cartwheels at least once a year, either in a hallway or on the quad, to make sure that she still knows how. Professor Lindsay Harrington. Professor Harrington teaches Pass 1, Pass 2, LLM legal research, writing and analysis, and for 16 years, she kept a tarantula as a pet. Professor Larry Levine. He needs no introduction, but he teaches torts, advanced torts, sexual orientation, and gender identity in the law. And in 2nd grade, he told his teacher that he was quitting school because it seemed unnecessary, given that he intended to become a clown. Professor Charles K. Essien. Professor K. Essien teaches in our MPP programs, Foundations of Public Administration, and he's a musician. Professor John Sprankling. Professor Sprankling teaches property, survey of intellectual property law, and space law, even though I don't see it listed here. Professor Sprankling and his wife love to visit the sites of famous property law cases. And they learn more about it and take photos. Professor Marcy Polinelli. Professor Polinelli teaches professional skills, leaders' organizational behavior, capstone strategic implementation in our MPP programs. She plays several musical instruments and met her future husband in a junior high school in jazz band. Professor Mike Vitello. Professor Vitello teaches the Law Review Seminar, Civil Procedure, Crim Law, and Criminal Procedure. He has a lot of fun facts, but I think the most important one, at least from my perspective, is he's been making home wine for the past 30 years. Very talented home winemaker. Professor Andrew Jers. Professor Jers teaches evidence, expert evidence, and criminal law. He's climbed over 24 mountains in Colorado in the years he practiced law in Denver. Very impressive. Professor Aaron O'Neill. Professor O'Neill teaches Global Lawyering Skills 1, 2, and 3, and capital lawyering and policymaking. Interestingly, Professor O'Neill started rowing crew this spring and is now part of the River City Rowing Club's Masters Racing team, practicing at 5:15 3 days a week. Very good. Professor Michael Malloy. Professor Malloy teaches business associations, commercial law, contracts, international banking, and law and literature. Dr. Malloy has authored or edited over 250 books and book-length supplements in such fields as banking and corporate securities regulation, contracts, economic sanctions, international banking, philosophy, and public international law. Professor Michael Colatrella. Professor Colatrella teaches civil procedure, professional responsibility, and negotiation. In his spare time, he can usually be found drawing or painting or playing with his dog, Leo. Professor Christine Manolakis. Oh, I don't think Christine is among us. So sorry, but she teaches federal income tax, taxation of real estate transactions, and community property. Professor Ed Telfian, is he among us? Yes. Professor Telfian teaches Global Lawyering Skills 1 and 2 and Advanced Appellate Advocacy. Fun fact, he's a lifelong Dodgers fan and suffers serious mood swings when they lose. So, be careful. Professor Stephen Macias. Professor Macias teaches Global Lawyering Skills 1 and 2 and Torts and GLS 1, my bad. Constitutional law and statutes and regulations. He's visiting McGeorge this year from the University of the District of Columbia, returning to California after more than a dozen years away. Welcome back. Professor Holly Estioko. Professor Estioko will be teaching Global Lawyering Skills 1 and 2, and she's run a marathon. Professor Ron Hochbaum. Professor Hochbaum teaches in the Homeless Advocacy Clinic and Poverty Law. He's a self-taught barista and owns 8 different kinds of coffee makers. An important talent for law school. Professor Jeff Michael. Professor Michael teaches economic concepts and tools, public policy capstone, and he has 3 dogs. Professor James Wirrell. Professor Wirrell will be teaching Global Lawyering Skills 1. Interestingly, for his University of Illinois law degree, he counted 4 credit classes taken from the University of Illinois, the University of British Columbia, the University of California at Hastings, and the University of Richmond. He's well-traveled. Professor Colleen Truden. Professor Truden teaches our externship program seminars. She has been to the White House Oval Office 3 times, and on a different occasion presented President Gerald Ford with an award. Very impressive. Professor Leslie Jacobs. Professor Jacobs teaches constitutional law and First Amendment, and interestingly, she served as law clerk for U.S. Supreme Court Justice Lewis F. Powell, Jr. Professor Mike Morales. Professor Morales teaches property, wills and trusts, cybersecurity, and intellectual property classes. He enjoys driving his kids to sporting events. Lastly, but not leastly, Professor Jennifer Harder. Professor Harder teaches statutes and regulations, administrative law, water law, and environmental practice. She's raising a very energetic 11-month-old golden retriever, so if she looks tired, that's why. Well, thus concludes my introduction to the faculty. You'll get to know them all a lot better over the next several years, and we're all going to be a big, happy family together. So if you need anything. Oh, Clark Kelso. Oh, my error. Professor Clark Kelso. Thank you. Professor Kelso teaches evidence, remedies. Sorry. Health law. Bioethics. Okay. Fun fact about Professor Kelso is he is a classically trained pianist. Now, I'll say it again. Thus concludes. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
You forgot somebody else?
I have a fun fact.
Yes.
Sorry. I was in the Truman Show.
All right. It's now my honor to introduce to you the alumnus and justice who will be presiding over the oath and pinning ceremony, Justice Ronald B. Roby. Justice Roby has been a member of the Court of Appeal, 3rd District in California since 2002. Previously, he served as a judge of the Municipal and Superior Courts of Sacramento County from 1983. Before that, he had a career in water resources, serving as staff director for the California State Assembly Water Committee, as a member and vice chair of the State Water Resources Control Board, and as a director of the California Department of Water Resources. He currently serves as the chair of the Supreme Court Committee on Judicial Ethics Opinions. He's a graduate of the University of California, Berkeley, AB, and, of course, the University of the Pacific McGeorge School of Law. Justice Roby taught environmental law at McGeorge School of Law for 44 years. Justice Roby has 3 special qualities I want you to know about. He doesn't know I'm saying this part. First, you need to know that pretty much every lawyer in Sacramento knows him. Why? It isn't just that he's been on the bench for a while or that he's taught a good chunk of the legal community. It's also because he shows up for stuff. You cannot go to an event, like as dean, I have to go to a lot of events, and every time I go, he's there. And sometimes, you know, they always say showing up is half of the job. He's doing a good job on that half. Second, he is and always has been a wonderful supporter of McGeorge. I just want to repeat, 44 years. We also recently celebrated that he has employed more than 100 McGeorge externs in his court. Go ahead and applaud that for him. He has spoken at this event. He has judged many moot court competitions. And then finally, he is responsible indirectly for my home. When his wife was on the Sacramento City Council, power couple, right? She led the charge to build homes in my neighborhood, so I owe him for that as well. With gratitude for his service to McGeorge, Sacramento, our legal system, and of course my neighborhood, I present Justice Ron Roby.
After that introduction, I'm not sure I can say anything, except that we're glad to have you, neighbor. That raises the quality of the neighborhood, having a dean in the neighborhood. Good afternoon. I understand they've been stuffing you full of information for a whole week, and you don't need me to do a lot more of it, but I do welcome you all, and I'm really excited by the fact that the 200 of you, they're not only JD program students, but also master's programs in law and public administration and public policy. And all of these have a common thread, and that is public service. In addition to teaching here for a long time, I have real firsthand knowledge of the quality and capability of McGeorge, and I can tell you, having seen so many McGeorge graduates practicing law, that you will get a superb education here, so make the best of every opportunity you have. And I congratulate you on making the first decision, which is to come to this institution to study. But you know, regardless of your field of study, you will receive valuable skills at this institution in service to the public. Everybody has mentioned service to the public, and I think it's the most important thing, and that's what I'm going to talk about. I spent the half of my legal career as an attorney working in the executive branch of government, as the dean said. That's an example of a lawyer in public service. I wasn't practicing law, I didn't go to court, but I was still being a lawyer and reflecting the values of being a lawyer. So for those of you embarking on the study of law, you're training for an ancient and honorable profession. Each year since I joined the appellate court more than 20 years ago, as the dean has said, I've had one or two externs from McGeorge in my chambers working as a member of my staff. And they just work as a regular member of my staff. And I would encourage you to consider an externship during your studies at one of the courts in Sacramento. Not only my Court of Appeal, but the federal and state courts all participate in the McGeorge extern program. You can get real-life experience in the judicial system of Sacramento. In your career at McGeorge, there will be many different ways you can serve the public in a positive way. Plan on making the most of these opportunities. And I encourage you to start providing service pro bono when you're still in law school. Law students can still do it. I urge you to do this. McGeorge has many, many opportunities for student service. Take advantage of these and make service to the public your motto from day one. And congratulations and good luck in your career at McGeorge. And now I have to change my costume before we administer the oath. Lifelong question for judges. Are zippers or Velcro better? Well, I have a zipper, and we'll see how it works. I shouldn't say this, but I terrorized my externs. Because up until now, every single one of them passed the bar on the first time. My McGeorge students. Would you please stand? And repeat after me, and I will break this into smaller pieces. I hope they're small enough. Please raise your right hand. As I begin my legal studies, I pledge to act with honesty and integrity. I commit to devoting my best efforts to my studies, assignments and exams. I will meet the expectations of the McGeorge Code of Student Responsibility. I will interact with colleagues, faculty, and staff with professionalism, civility, and grace. I will seek opportunities to benefit my community and will on every occasion act in ways that reflect positively on me. My law school and the legal profession. I make this pledge freely and upon my honor. Congratulations on starting law school.
Please feel free, you may be seated. Thank you. Thanks for asking. Please feel free to put the pin on now. You have a pin in front of you. Please feel free to put it wherever works for you. Before we close, and as you are pinning, I'd like to share with you a few tidbits about your peers. I think you will quickly see why we are so excited about your class. This year's incoming class includes 266 students in total, 215 JD students, 9 MPX students, 22 LLM students, 1 JSD student, and 19 MSL students. This year's incoming class includes graduates of 52 colleges and universities, including all the UCs, many of the CSUs. There's a lot of them. It's hard to get all of them. The University of the Pacific, and U.S. universities as far away as Florida A&M, Syracuse University, Loyola Chicago, and Baylor, plus universities all over the world, including, and please forgive my pronunciation, the University de Santa Cruz do Sul in Brazil, the University of Cairo in Egypt, the University of Salzburg in Austria, the Kirg State Juridical Academy in Kyrgyzstan, Yeditepe University in Turkey, and the Tamil Nadu Dr. Ambedkar Law University in India. This year's class is the law school's third ever and third in a row in which more than half of our students identify as people of color. That's 56% this year. 18.5% of you identify as LGBTQIA+, and we estimate that roughly 25% of you identify as having one or more disabilities. 63% of you are women, which I believe is our highest percentage of women ever. And I may even like this fact as much. More than 40% of you are the first in your family, not just to go to law school, but to go to college. That's amazing. You represent 18 different countries and speak or sign more than 20 languages, including Bengali, Catalan, Nepali, Spanish, Ukrainian, and Vietnamese, among the many. Our incoming students bring in a range of experiences and talents to their legal studies. This is a small sample of the jobs that you have held: ACLU staff, actress, Army sergeant, brewer, that'll make Professor Croxall happy, cello teacher, commercial fisher person, election clerk, equine unit operation technician, gymnast, kendo instructor, kickboxing trainer, legislative assistant for the Los Angeles Unified School District, librarian, lifeguard, music journalist in Japan, prisoner reentry program staff, public health researcher, ranch hand, senior director of the Amtrak Western Region, skateboard instructor, Special Olympics coach. This one will be a good one for our torts professors because we have a torts professor student in that person's home country. And a United Nations official with the UN Commission for Refugees. I'd like to finish by telling you a story and then do a few thank yous. So, a young man has just lost his father, and his mother passed away about a month or two before her. And he had just attended the funeral for his father, and he goes back into their home. And he's looking around and picking up pictures and thinking about his parents. And he picks up a picture when his parents were pretty young. I'd say probably not so different than your age, by and large. I know there's variation. And he picks up the picture. For some reason, he decides to turn it over. And on the back, his father wrote, "On this day, we were infinite." And my message to you entering class of 2024, today you are infinite. And we are excited to see where that brings you. Special thank yous. First of all, I want to thank, this is, as you've probably figured out, orientation is a smidge of work. And I want to start by thanking the Orientation Committee Chair and ask her to please stand, Kendra Jackson. I would also like the other members of the First Week in Orientation Planning Committee to please stand and be applauded. A special thank you. We sort of have made her an unofficial employee of the law school, Monica Alarcon. Thank her. She is the Sacramento Campus Events Coordinator. Please stand again. So this would not be a formal legal event without great attention to procedure. Students, please stand in place so our photographer may take a group photo with you and Justice Roby.
I'm going to take 3 photos and then we're going to stitch them together, okay?
Right here, pinky, ready, 1, 2, 3. One more, 1, 2, 3. Right at the pinky, ready, 1, 2, 3.
Wow, you can hear that.
One more.
Thank you. There's a reception out on the quad. Please join us there. Thank you all so much, and thank you for watching online.